Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Ann, and today is April 29th, 2019. And I want to make this short video, well, it may not be that short, to share a couple of things with you. One, I want to tell you about a vision that I had last night, which will be done on the end. And I want to explain a comment that I made to one of my subscribers, which I realize may be helpful to general viewers. And this is concerning how the church is not the bride of Christ, but the church is the body of Christ. Now, I do not believe that any of us doubt that the church is the body of Christ. And that is very clear, and we can see that in several scriptures. But how in the world did the church, which is the body, all of a sudden become the bride of Christ? Now, I'm going to show you how that happened, and then I'm going to explain the confused verses and show you how they should be rightly divided. And in fact, these are the verses that point to the mystery that I've been talking about. So we'll get into a little bit more into that toward the end of this video. Now, some of the verses that you can check out for yourself that talks clearly about the church as being the body of Christ is 1 Corinthians 12:12, 1 Corinthians 12:27, Ephesians 4:12, Ephesians 5:29 through 30. And there are many others, but I'm not going to go into them, but you can check those out for yourself. But they clearly tell us that the church is the body of Christ and that we are the members of his body. Now, the next few verses that I'm going to talk about, these are the ones that are notorious for having the word church. And what they will do is they will take church and replace church with bride and say that the church is the bride of Christ. And that can be found in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25 through 27. But these verses clearly say church. It does not say bride. It says that the church is the one that must be without spot or wrinkle. It says nothing about the bride in these verses. So what I'm saying is that you cannot put an entire rose garden, which is the church, into a vase that was made for a single rose. The rose garden in this analogy is the church. The single vase is the bride of Christ. That just will not work. So I just kind of came up with that little analogy to kind of help you understand outside of the church. The rose garden has hundreds of roses in it, but a single rose, which goes into the vase, which is the bride, is a single rose. So let's read Ephesians 5:25 through 27. 25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loves the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word. 27. And to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. Again, it says church, it did not say bride. Clearly, God is talking about the church being without spot or wrinkle. And to use my analogy, the rose garden, every rose in the rose garden, which is the church, has to be also blameless, without spot or wrinkle. But it is still talking about the rose garden, which is the church. Now let's look at Revelation 19, which is where The single rose has been selected out and it's been picked out of the rose garden. So we'll be looking at Revelation 19, 7 through 9. So let's read that. Uh, verse 7, Revelation 19, verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. Number 9, and he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true sayings of God. Brothers and sisters, we see that in Revelation 19:8, the wife was dressed in fine linen, just like the rest of the saints. Yet she had been set apart as the one chosen as a wife, the one the Lamb will marry. The others are blessed to be able to be called to the wedding, but they are not the wife of the Lamb. So you see, the wife is not only dressed in fine linen, just like all the rest of the saints. That, in fact, that is the only way that any of the church or the rose garden could have been judged righteous enough to be invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb. Therefore, to be at the wedding supper, it is an absolute honor, but it does not mean that you are the wife of the Lamb. It means that the wife of the Lamb is also dressed in the righteousness of the saints. The fine linen is the righteousness of the saint. That is how she has made herself ready, by putting on the fine linen of the saints. So, brothers and sisters, keep this in mind. For all of us that have had dreams or visions where we saw ourselves wearing beautiful white dresses, this means that we have been clothed in the righteousness of the saints. This is a glorious revelation, but it does not mean that you are the wife of the Lamb. It does not mean that you are that chosen rose. You are part of that beautiful rose garden. Now, I hope this is plain to everyone, but if it's not, please send me a message with your question, and I will do my best to address it as best I can. So now that we have established that the church is the body of Christ, let's move on to the very reason that I wanted to make this video. Um, and to do that, we will be looking at a little bit more detail at Ephesians chapter 5, 30 through 33. And I'm going to read that right now. Ephesians 5, 30 to 33, 30. For we are members of his body, his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. 32. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. 33. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Now, what Paul is doing here is taking us back to when God created Adam and Eve. And this takes us back to Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 through 25. And you can actually read that for yourself. But brothers and sisters, I'm sure that all of us remember that when God first created man, he created Adam. It was just Adam. Adam was alone. And God said that it's not good for man to be alone. So at that point, God put Adam to sleep and he took Eve out of the body of Adam. So he put Adam to sleep and he took a rib and pulled that rib out of Adam's body and he made Eve. Now, even though Adam's body had legs and arms and ears and so on, God used the rib to make Eve. And that's the analogy that we want to play on right now. And so, since we started with Paul's analogy or symbolism in Ephesians 30, where we talked about the body of Christ, and how we are the members of the body of Christ, well, the same analogy holds true. The body of Christ are all the members. But like I was saying with the rose, God has chosen one rib out of the body of Christ, and he has pulled that rib out, and that is his wife. That is his wife. He's not going to have the whole church as his wife. He's not going to use the whole garden as his wife, but he's going to use that one woman. And so she is the uh, the Eve that he has chosen. The bride is one woman taken from the body of Christ. She is his rib. Christ is not pulling from all the various parts of the body to create his Eve. He only pulled his Eve. And again, that was the analogy, that was the mystery that Paul was talking about. And so that is why when he says that the church has to be without spot or wrinkle, the church has to be, because at that point, God is going to take one rose or one member of the church and he's going to choose that person as his wife. And as I said, it took us to that Eve analogy. And I just wanted to mention that again. I think the Lord wanted me to go ahead and make this video because he has told me many, many, many times that I am his Eve. And this morning I got that same vision again. I saw Yahushua sitting on his sitting on his throne as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. That happened early in the night. And then earlier this morning around 6:30, I saw him again and he wrote very clearly, "You are my Eve." And as I said before, he has told me many, many times, starting in, I think, 2016, that I am his Eve. And for that reason, I had created a Facebook page called Yahushua's Eve, where I list a lot of posts on there that I don't actually make videos for. So that was what I wanted to share with you today, to show you how the church, which is the body of Christ, is not the bride of Christ, but the bride of Christ is taken from the church. So that is all I want to share with you right now. And I will say shalom until next time.